see which can push themselves forward. Chiefs looking for an initial victory after coming very close and still netting themselves a single point from their previous game. And FaZe Clan having quite the easy time against OXG. Are they too comfortable here against the Chiefs? Well, we'll certainly find out. As the first ban goes out, though, it's going to be Maverick removed from the pool initially.
I mean, it's one of those sort of specific limitations, I think, Mav, on Cafe. You're looking at, obviously, grenade play towards the back of the freezer side on the top floor. You're looking at, potentially, depending on the team that you're up against, whether you want to go for a take more towards the server stairs and the server stairs on the backside around white, or if you want to lock down the bakery and cause some trouble and cook some danger over the top. Sure, Maverick and Thatcher have their play, but I wouldn't say that they're the most distinct operators in terms of the role that they can bring here. I personally love to see Flores as a bit of an adaptation and as a bit of a drive since he was added. Valk, that's an obvious one. And I think in terms of impact, yeah, she's definitely way further up there.
And coming off your point of the Flores ban, we've actually seen that happen quite often in North America as well. That's becoming quite a common ban on this map. So absolutely agree with you with there, with potentially seeing that one over Maverick. Maverick definitely being more of a niche pick, it seems, here for FaZe, probably to ease their attacks as they'll also be going, or rather to ease their defense, I should say, as they'll be going into that second here. Clearly, they know how to play this without the Maverick, as they'll be jumping onto the attacking side first. So with that out of the way, we'll be getting into this first round here. We'll be starting out downstairs for the Chiefs here. So a different take from our European team in the last match from Vitality, choosing to start on the third floor. Seems the Chiefs favor the first floor, as we see in some other regions as well.
A glass is a curiosity, I think, is the fairest thing on anything, just in general, and it's a curiosity that is peaked and thrown out the window because it's not the most common operator to play here. One of the things that I love to see from FaZe, to be fair, on their takes when they have played Cafe, is just the creativity around smokes. When we saw them at SI on that first sort of wonderful bout of international play earlier on in the year, what they were doing so well on that top floor and against teams that weren't expecting was just absolutely cascading everything in smoke. Finding the option to dig their way through in the meantime, obviously it's dependent on the site whether that sort of comes together, but here, the way that they're going to use that capital is going to be a consistent drive for a team that loves to drive into a site. And they have the ability to build these sort of intricate strats and intricate little plays and pockets before just going, okay, we can turn this to 11.
Another interesting piece of the puzzle here, specifically for Digital on the Chiefs. You guys might have heard it already. We do not have the Alda currently on the Maestro. He's actually playing with the shotgun. So that's going to be very cool to see how that gets played. Specifically, more than likely going to try to hold a harsh, close-range angle to try and punish those players as they work their way in.
Now, one of the things to also sort of pay attention to, which is, if I'm going to mention SI 2022, FaZe, they're fighting for a spot. They're not automatically qualified. They're still trying to put the pressure in to find it. And Chiefs are the only team at the competition that aren't fighting or already qualified. The pressure comes through, and Souls explodes on the bottom of white now as they see if they can lock down onto the top of the white stairs. A little bit of a rotation, a little bit of a pull away as God Legion suffers first, but there is Astro to make sure that the suffering continues.
FaZe immediately punishing any type of aggressive positioning, let alone action from the Chiefs here, as both Fisher Guy as well as Logan are going to end up going down very early on here. Just being positioned close off to both the white stairs spot as well as the double window near Whiskey here. Ethan is also slowly trying to maintain position on top of the Whiskey stairs, more so to fend off what would be an expected initial push to come in from that double window, but FaZe is holding themselves back for a few moments here. They've got a massive advantage. They don't want to overstep their bounds. They're still going to go through the motions of the top-down clear, I think, over this next minute or so to make sure they don't miss anything, like Ethan's position, as well as his teammate joining with him here, Worthy, upstairs on the second floor.
Now, Ethan and Worthy have been huge players early on, but the mantle is higher than it's potentially ever been for Chiefs in this showdown. Again, it's not just a tough team. It's not just a tough team that's come off the back of a 7-0 win, and you're fighting for your first today, but it's the tournament favorites sort of proving their pace is continued. A take round upstairs in Zulu Stairs as the next fight happens on the backside of Freezer, but things are getting a little bit spicy and hot here as they're trying to find some safety in the corner of the kitchen. Worthy digs his way through, might not know about the body that's potentially trying to creep from Coat, but they don't. They actually pull back. They're going to give them a little pocket of space for Worthy to pull himself up. And now it's down to a bit of a top-down hold here. Can they punish the second? They do. And a bit of a surprise strike from Worthy, but with one body close on Coat check, they're going to go for revenge. Can't get the connection, and it's a bit of a fly away.
They blocked off his rotate at a minimum for the time being, so going to have to look for a different path back into the site if Worthy wants to push for it again, and he finds it on a vertical angle. Souls goes down next as now he takes up position up on top. Cameraman finally trades onto the only other member of Chief still on the site, but here's the problem. The case just went down with Worthy's most recent kill. We are going to see Astro be able to sneak his way forward there, stealing away the case and getting it deep into the site here, and he still has support from Cameraman on the other side by Prep. Where is Worthy going to make the re-entrance from? Is he still holding himself to the top of Red, waiting out that Capital Firebolt as he finally is able to push back downstairs, but unfortunately right into the angle of Cameraman, and Cameraman even given the early intel with the shots ringing out there, so he has no problem shutting down this round for FaZe.
As we said, Worthy and Ethan are going to be two players to keep your eye on in terms of the performance. Ethan, the most storied player and the only one with big international experience under their belt, and Worthy, who has been such a driving force for the Chiefs over their past campaign here. Again, the fight is never going to be higher, but it's a good, energetic start because in a strange way, from casting their game earlier today, that was some of the best defending that they've done in terms of confidence, in terms of leaning back into the fight, in terms of trying to reposition and get creative. They seem to have a little bit of a problem on Bank, which was hand over huge swathes of territory. And yeah, sure, it's a different map, but still, it's good to see that they've had a bit of a conversation, a bit of a mental reset, and a bit of a rethink on how they can drive themselves into the second game of the day.
We'll have to see how they try to play things out here on the second round. This is usually a site, as we move on to the second floor hold, that demands off-site play, specifically going up to the third floor to defend Cocktail and prevent easy top-down angles from being opened up by, in this case, FaZe Clan. Chiefs, though, as we just saw in that last round, fell victim to their own aggressive positions very early on due to the great intel work and great aggression that we saw just in the first 20 to 30 seconds of the round from FaZe Clan. So that's the first issue the Chiefs have to get past here, is mitigating a lot of that extra pressure that's going to be immediately boiling down on any more aggressively positioned members of this team.
Now, FaZe have so far gone 8 rounds without suffering one against them, which is pretty much in line with their win streak as well. They were able to strike themselves 7 wins in a row and break the record inside Latin America in terms of an undefeated run here, and they're trying their best to make sure it continues on the grandest stage here. As they go now for their second approach against Chiefs, there's a bit of a top floor hold that they need to get an idea of before they go for the pressure itself. But here, as the windows start to pop open around the core and the heart of the stair set itself, they're going to see if they can cause a little bit of a palpitation for Chiefs and put them in a bit of a spot of pressure.
Just a few seconds gone away from the round here, but it feels a lot longer with how quickly FaZe tries to get into these aggressive positions. You can see they are storming the second floor, specifically over here by Train very, very quickly. Mining as well is already fully under the control of FaZe. Digital doesn't even seem ready for this early of a push from Astro as he just waltzes right in, takes him down as he's still trying to check over towards Dining Room where we have a player on Rappel.
Now, as they're starting to look to quite get a full idea of what it is, and sorry about that, but we're back here, and now we get to see as the pressure comes around the top of Laundry, or potentially the hatch is open. They have the idea to drop down if Lumber gets a little bit too worked over, but you can see this FaZe thinking, reimagining, and reassessing and pressing themselves towards the pressure that they want to apply onto the side of Pillars. Steady drone work from the top down as the pitter-patter rainfall of this map comes together, but can Chiefs keep themselves a bit dry?
Chiefs continuing to hold on here, trying to weather the storm, and it's going to be coming in very, very soon here. More entries being made by FaZe, and they're just again walking right into the site as Astro gets himself a second one inside of Library. Finally some trades, but it's far too little, far too late, as it's just going to be left to Logan here, who also is dealt with by Astro, picking up all the impactful frags to seal the deal for FaZe on a second.
Crouch walking via the Zulu corridor right between the two sides into the site and finding a fight, and they had an awareness. You could see they leant into the fight before, tried to swing and get the earlier take, as we see there, but I mean, Astro on a tear as he was, locking it out with the third and the final one here. FaZe has not come to play. They know what's on the possibility of this tournament, not only taking the win, but taking a seat at SI 2022's table. It's one of the things that we sort of look towards at Mexico, the first major tournament they hadn't been a part of in a long time. I believe since like 2017, we hadn't seen this. And now they're sort of making up for lost time.
Absolutely, trying to make things up and make up for the reputational loss as well there. And thing for Chiefs here is the aggression for FaZe, in my opinion, is only going to increase with how easily they were able to walk through the second floor defenses on that last round. Now, it is Kitchen. Chiefs have like a free bunker setup just with the way the site is set up, so FaZe is going to have to slow things down a little bit just because we've gone to this site. But don't get me wrong, if there's any extended pressure at all, FaZe is probably going to try to deal with that in even quicker fashion than we saw in the last round, because they went off with no problems whatsoever, so they have no reason to pull back the pressure at this point.
Now, that was a bit of a crude and rude awakening, but I guess when you double down on a site, you start to get a true taste of how that in-game adaptation is coming together, because that was something where, okay, I highlighted how they were leaning into it, but you got to show growth with that. You got to show a possibility. 4 kills over 2 rounds is only going to get worse and worse the longer that really goes uncontested, and sometimes we've seen these FaZe players go uncontested on entrances, on movements that they're making in and amongst the site itself. The pings come through early for the body that's just holding around to the bottom of white. They're looking curiously for anyone that might be a little bit too wide, but it's still just a steady FaZe opening.
Very, very slow here as they try to gather that initial intel. I believe they did have an initial drone that's spotted. Will rotate up to the 3rd floor specifically for Ethan, so they'll be aware of that position to some extent. But away from that, FaZe is not really focusing on that clear right now. Once again, they want to brute force this right into Bakery and try to force out any additional pressure from the Chiefs, and it looks like they've accomplished that for the most part here. The Twitch drones as well, making sure there's no additional utility in the area, as they'll be able to sweep through and take that out fairly quickly, with, of course, those explosive drones supporting in any capacity they might be able to, as we have seen quite oftenly used on this map.
Oh, they're sending in the boys one after the other, the pair of drones that are causing problems here, and Chiefs are trying to find just a semblance of safety, a little pocket that they can stand on and not be entirely surrounded by the danger and the damage of FaZe. God Legion has a very important role up and train. He's got the eyes down via the small prep room to make sure if anyone goes for a quick swing, they're not gonna have an easy as pie time. However, with Bakery still being the problem where most of these pastries are being absolutely demolished side by side, it's a bit of a drift and a dry, and it's leaving everything a little bit crusty and not quite with the comfortable bite that they want to take out of each other.
We've got more drones exploding all around our players here, specifically closer to the Bakery wall inside of the site, where Official Guy continues to try and wait this one out, actually wasting a lot of time right now. FaZe is held up mainly because of his position sitting deeper in the site here, and until they can deal with him, it's going to remain that way. You still have Logan as well with a cutoff upstairs that I'm pretty sure FaZe are not going to be aware of, and there we go. The first victim of it shows up as Astro gets dropped. That's a lot of the entry power going away, as we saw in previous rounds, of course, if they're not going to be able to get him back up and into the fight.
Such a huge gun that has already been used very well at important rounds. And here, Astro, we talked about him being quite a big player, getting his way into the fight. There goes one more as that big gun goes bang on the back line. A quick take and Bullet's able to re-find a little bit of safety, but 45 seconds. Astro's still down. They still have train control, and this fight's going to be very important because if cameraman can't get the drop here, then that's suddenly all looked off. Hey, Vigil, how you doing? Not very well now as cameraman gets the revenge. The grenade's back up, so is Astro. Can they try and find something in the final 30 seconds?
No intel support available for that player upstairs, so he goes down, but cameraman falls on a trade a second later as well. Digital lining up that shot. Worthy nearly getting the final one, but Cyber's Era bringing it back here as it's him and Bullet versus the world now, and the world's very small. It's just down to Ethan for the Chiefs. 15 seconds remain here. There's a FaZe that have to find some way to get this case down on the ground, and they should have just been able to negotiate it. Ethan, though, looking to sneak through, but it's not going to work out as Cyber shuts it down one final time with a 3rd kill on the round there to seal the deal for FaZe on a 3rd overall round as well. Picking him up, they realize the situation. They call off all the aggression from that point forward and specifically commit someone to rotating up and dealing with that issue before they put any more pressure in that specific angle. Really, really smart play from FaZe Clan, not taking any unnecessary risks in these scenarios, and great time management to go along with it as well. Never seemingly stressed to get into the site towards the end of the round.
Now then, what can you do in that team talk to be able to bring some of this back together? You've had your moment, and to be fair, earlier on in the day, it was what brought you a little bit more success because you had a breath. And from then on, you found 2 clutch rounds. Clutch round doth not make a good defense, but it does make some scratches on the board in your favor. Something that OXG couldn't handle against FaZe, and if this train keeps rolling, something that you might find a closer and closer ultimatum that you have to try and find an answer for.
10 seconds left.
So we will see here now for the Chiefs if the transition back up to the 3rd floor is going to be enough. Once again, quite a bit in terms of mitigation being brought in, specifically against more aggressive play as well, with specifically the Warden now coming out there onto Digital. That's going to add some greater capability to fend off specifically any sort of flash pushes we might get from FaZe Clan. Not to mention, again, just another member of the team that can move around a little bit more proficiently, given that operator's kit and how he generally plays into these rounds. We've got FaZe out on the board. Let's see where they are going to put the first bits of pressure here, as they have slowly started to slow things down. I think as Chiefs have gotten a greater grasp on how FaZe plays this. FaZe, I think, is starting to hone in their overall attacking strategy, especially now as we come to the closing rounds, the closing quarter of the half.
I think that's one of the things that I love about FaZe is they have so much depth in what they want to bring. They can do this quick, fast, aggressive game that obviously these aggressive teams in this current meta are famous for. They can do this five-pronged attack. They're one of only 3 teams where every single player is positive on their KD coming into this from recent play, but they can also slow things down. They're so good at controlling the pace and the tactical flow, and that's the problem for Chiefs, who are still trying to work out exactly just where they can sort of apply the pressure and where they need to hold themselves in. Slow and steady to Pixel as they find the shield and find themselves in a meta that was once upon a time a nightmare, but this should be much easier to clear through.
Cyber at the moment just hopping around those Twitch drones, trying to figure out and in some ways suss out this player over towards Pixel. They'll succeed in that. Special guy is forced into the open, but still is going to maintain that position as there's no one else from FaZe Clan in the area just as of yet. Cameraman, though, able to line up a very nice incendiary there, forcing Fisho Guy out of position and nearly leading to his death. This bullet's able to get quite a bit of damage onto him. In fact, chucks an Aiden and kills an entirely different member of the team. Ethan goes down instead, and they've also still knocked half the HP off of Fish.
I mean, that was them bringing on their kicker and getting that right between the bars from the end. That was unbelievable. That arrow exactly where they needed it to be was a bit of a surprise bout of pressure, and now suddenly, yet again, Chiefs are finding themselves fighting back. Well, that's a bit of a trade there. Worthy and Cameraman find one apiece, and to be fair, it's a big blow to both teams. Cameraman has been a big driving force. The Capital Bolts are a part of that. Cyberzera, in the meantime, goes for the fight. Bullet gets one more, and suddenly it's just God Legion left, but not for very long. FaZe Clan find their 4th in a row after the Chiefs' attack timeout.
Might have lost the utility in one of their teammates going down outside there for the Capital, but what was ignited by the build-up from just that one incendiary bolt and the frag grenades coming from his teammate to follow that up opened up a clean pathway for the rest of the team to force their way onto the site. And from that point forward, the gun skill succeeded FaZe yet again to allow them to claim a 4th consecutive round here. That is now 11 rounds straight so far at this tournament for FaZe Clan. Not a single one dropped yet.
Oh, it's terrifying. It's a terrifying statistic, not just for the teams in this group, but for every single group, because you cannot highlight it enough that FaZe came into this hot. They came into this angry. They came into this not only wanting to prove something, but having to prove something because of the success of their country folk, of Team 1 recently, and then obviously NIP recently. This needed to be a moment to keep up and not get left behind, and what they are trying to do is prove that they are on another plane. 11 rounds to none against them, and they're just getting started.
Looking like certainly one of the most promising teams to try and push forward and really set that legacy up for 2021 to be the year of Latin America, already claiming 2 out of the 3 major events inside of this calendar year, and looking to claim the 3rd here at Sweden now. FaZe definitely in a strong position to do so, but we've got plenty of other challengers from the region that are doing quite well also, such as Furia having a massive upset victory versus SSG earlier today as well.
That's it, and it's this continual fight and presence from Latin America is in a region where sometimes for a long time we only had a couple of teams that were frequent names on the big board, sure, but you get there sometimes by other teams not stepping up to the mantle. That is not the problem and not the case for this region, and again, that is the statement that FaZe are painting on every single book inside a library. They are more than happy to put the pressure on instantly. The swing comes round from the close Christmassy door, but no presents this time. That's in a couple of months.
See here now as Cyber and the rest of FaZe are still looking to work their way into the building. Once again, that slow buildup that we talked about. Well, yes, they've brought bouts of immediate aggression before. Unless it's going to be on the first floor, FaZe Clan will find it fairly difficult to negotiate positioning to accomplish that on the 2nd and 3rd floor hold. So a little bit more of a tactical approach is needed, at least inside of the first minute or so, to figure out what the Chiefs setup look like and come up with a plan of action for countering out those players, as we saw with the Capital Bolts and the frag grenades that FaZe used on their initial push last round.
Well, there's a drop on a drone, and Worthy's going to pull himself just a little bit further back. It was the drop before the pressure in the flood, and he makes sure that he has some stable ground round on the corner of the shield. But as everything starts to get popped, there's a creep, and there's a crawl, and there's a drop. And there is one more for the scoreboard, followed by CyberZera getting God Legion on the far side. Why not get a double with the F2? Scream your way through the top.
I think that was coming in from Cocktail side as well there for Cyber. So this, yeah, look, he's got full control over here. So the Cocktail hold has been fully cleared out. And the Chiefs, unfortunately, don't have much of a defense to negotiate. One of their players is also still on the first floor at this point, so he's going to have to try and rotate into a flank. That's going to be Digital playing the pulse, still trying to play for Intel game at this point in the round here because so many teammates were lost so quickly. He hasn't even had a chance to adjust. He's going to scan things out on the second floor. More than likely, based on that scan, probably going to try to rotate up towards red and try to assist from the other side of the push. But FaZe Clan as well, since they've got all the time in the world at this point, in terms of siege terms anyway, are going to slow this one down, go back on their drones, see if they can figure out the exact positions of these final two players before committing to anything else.
And that's, again, one of those things in their play, is redefining the pace of a round whenever they want to. They can go short, sharp, and dangerous as a dagger, or put the end on a tip of a spear and say, we're going to take this at our pace, and it's just terrifying. It's great. It's exciting to watch, but it's terrifying.
Textbook definition of a flawless round there for FaZe. Not a single mistake made along the way. They just mark off every mark on the checklist and work their way through very, very easily there. So for FaZe, it's looking like we could have another very, very quick game on our hands here. I'm not sure if a side switch, even at 6-0, is going to do much for Chiefs at this point.
They were good on their attack. They were at moments great on their attack. I think that their early game against Rogue was exceptional. They were so good at corralling information. But this phase is above good and above great, and you start thinking, okay, well, what can sort of slow them down? What can you do in this situation? It's a different map, it's a different play space, and it's a different sort of corridor and avenue. And as we said, everybody expected a tough game. Every single team in the tournament expected to fight FaZe at one point. If they didn't think they were in their group, they would have hoped they fought them in the final or probably seen it just before. And it's a game you have to be aware of, and they're sort of proving it. They're like when you accidentally play a game and set the AI on unbeatable.
Certainly seeming unbeatable based on the play we've got in these first 5 rounds from FaZe so far. Chiefs have fallen back into the bunker once again here. The kitchen hold coming out for them. And we're going to see Souls thrown here, spot out initial player working their way over towards VIP. Curious to see if anyone from FaZe will follow through on that. Like I said, the first floor holds is, yeah, where we've seen these really early bouts of aggression inside of the first 15 to 20 seconds of the round, and we've got it again. Ethan caught out, more than likely peeking a window upstairs is how he's caught this early on. He goes down, and the alibi is removed from play.
I mean, I know that there's jokes that have been made all day about what region has as many rounds as whatever other team and whatnot, but at the minute, CyberZera has pretty much more kills than definitely all of Chiefs put together, but he's going to see if his KD can be better than anyone else's on the entire server. He is driving this game. Worthy at least finds a fight back against Bullet there as they keep some of this solidity onto the hold. The creep round on the side, he's going to see if he can cause some damage from the small bait, but the wing is cut and clipped by cameraman CyberZera with one more. 11 for the tally, and suddenly it's another 2 players of Chiefs eyeing up a lot of time in the top middle of your screen and a lot of FaZe players left.
It's just so smooth from FaZe right now. Every single member of the Chiefs that tries to make any sort of move, they are immediately countered out from a flanked angle or something else that they can't realistically react to in any sort of realistic scenario there. So Chiefs continuing to falter in a lot of ways, not really by any fault of their own here. Fisho Guy tries to get aggressive and once again ends up on the losing side of the HP loss from that gunfight as well. Digital trying to see if he can get these slug shots into one of the players at range. Cameraman will catch the transition from Fisho Guy moving back to sight, and now Digital is all that remains and doesn't stay that way for very long as he's also handled quite quickly. A 6-0 start to this round, or this match, for FaZe Clan, and overall running the gauntlet here, 13-0 so far in this tournament.
Well, Chiefs are in good spirits because at this point, what else can you be in? Let's put a sort of pin on this and say any team against this FaZe team would be suffering the same. This isn't Chiefs underperforming, this is FaZe overperforming anybody right now. We've seen games that have gone one-sided. We've seen tight games. We've seen a whole mix and a whole slew. But this is just another level. And I think one of the things that you sort of highlighted there that punctuates it is they know everything. Every part of the intel, every movement, every breath that Chiefs took in the cold Sweden air, they were aware of it and they punished it.
So with that desperate of a scenario lined up against the Chiefs here, they have to ask themselves, what can they accomplish going into this second half? Yes, the attacks were good in their previous matchup, but were they 6 rounds in a row good? That is now the question of the day here as we move into the first round of the second half, where Chiefs will need to bring everything to bear. They want any hope of at least triggering OT to try to get some points out of this game. If not, could be looking at the continuation of a flawless run, quite literally, for FaZe Clan, not dropping a single round in 2 matches so far at the tournament.
I mean, couldn't really ask for a better first day, could you?
They're certainly going to be feeling confident about themselves.
Yeah.
That's at a minimum what we'll have from FaZe Clan. They're very curious to see when they play this other team in the group as well to complete that run. As once again, as we've seen here, these are some of the underdogs in the tournament, both between OXG and Chiefs, given the circumstances that have befallen them and the reputations coming to this tournament beforehand. So FaZe Clan, some argument can be made that the real challenge for them is still yet to come. We'll have to wait and see how that faces both at the end of this group stage and as they assumably will be trying to push their way forward out to the playoff stage.
Well, if I was Rogue right now, potentially watching this, although they are playing a game, so probably not, you would assume. However, well, FaZe might be watching their game very soon. If this keeps on the pace, you would look at their win against Chiefs earlier on in the day. Spoiler alert, my bad, but it's already happened. And you would be like, well, I'm glad we took points from them, because taking points from FaZe isn't looking easy right now. Taking rounds from FaZe isn't looking easy. They hit the 7-0 earlier on today. They're eyeing themselves up for the pace of it, but as I said before, this is where Chiefs excel. This is one of the things that is the strongest about their game, is their attacks, is this early sort of control of the players. They're confident, they're happy, but when I said these things and when we saw these things, they started on their attack and they'd driven themselves into a game. This is them knowing that one mistake could lead to the end of this map, and keeping that confidence and that bravado in the face of insurmountable evil. How do you step up?
Well, FaZe at minimum here seems to be giving the respect to Chiefs on their attack, seemingly aware of the prowess that was brought in their previous game. No wild aggression or extensions to be seen from FaZe Clan. They are full bunkered on the horizontal hold here. Well, yes, there's extensions out from the site. This is what we would generally expect here with this type of a hold to be seen, both in Kochek, the bakery, and of course, VIP. Souls in the inside of the site, though, is going to be the focus to start things out here, as the walls or ceilings will slowly be breaking down around him, so can no longer maintain safe harbor behind that deployable shield. Needs to move to the secondary position here, as the Chiefs have succeeded in forcing him out from utility. Nice grenade goes in, deals with the shield, but the single bullet coming out from CyberZera is enough to end Ethan's life. So definitely not a favorable exchange at the end of the day for the Chiefs as they go down 4v5 now.
The canister pops on the stairs, and it buys a few seconds of time, but Chiefs, they've dabbled dangerous on the late push previously. They've found themselves going for these sort of takes. However, they've also found themselves stumbling when they are the man down on the lead in. They've lost Ethan. He's now taking up that full IGL role of looking over the cams and bringing some idea in, and the first to take care of cameraman dropped. A big force in the Echo, but CyberZera is the biggest force in Sweden right now. They try and do a bit of a two-story take here with one on the rack and the other down below. They're looking for the swing round onto the side. It's the small prep. Digital gets one more and steps up, but it's Bullet that pulls it a little bit back. A 2 versus nobody. FaZe Clan not only undefeated, nobody has made them even bleed today.
Except for the table.
Except for the table, the most successful opponent against FaZe has been the table.